the speaking, I want to do more speaking. And the thing that I really have a goal of, and I was telling you about, I want to do a TED Talk. And I've had some fear around that because it's just, listen, it's intimidating. So interviews I'm very comfortable with, but it's being in these, groups like that, I
Yeah.
have felt a little bit nervous. So you have encouraged me to go forward with this, and that's something that I really want to do. So
So tell
that's
me
that's
what's
on my
the
list right now.
so let's look at what the concern is, because you're so articulate and beautiful and smart and you
Thank
have
you.
the information. It's not like you don't know what you're talking about. So what is the consideration or the fear?
That's a good question. Like, I guess when you think about speaking or maybe freezing or maybe I don't know. That's never happened to me before. I've given enough lectures that I
Yeah,
haven't frozen,
exactly.
but it's something about the idea of a TED Talk. It just seems like the to me like the ultimate speaking engagement that just seems, I mean, Landmark too is a very big, you're speaking in front of a huge audience. But yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just, it's something that I've had a fear of. And
Well, if we can isolate it and identify it, we might be able to dismantle it. So imagine there you are on whatever stage, because they're all different kinds of stages,
mhm.
and there's people in the audience. That's what that is there's a stage, a slide deck, and people.
Right. That's probably it. Anytime I've ever done a lecture, I never work from notes. I don't use a PowerPoint. I like to speak from the heart. I like it to be more authentic. So I just kind of talk. And I'm like, when I do this TED thing, am I going to have these slides and use the clicker and the technology and look at it and get disoriented? I don't know. It's just
Well, I'm
not.
going to tell you something really funny, because I did a TED Talk, years ago, and they had invited me to do the TED Talk for 5 years, and I said no. Every time they invited
Why?
me, I said no, because of the PowerPoint.
Are you
Had this. I
serious?
am totally serious. I was like, I can't do it. I don't understand PowerPoint. I've never done a PowerPoint. I don't want to have to click things, and like I sounded just like you, right?
That's the whole
And
reason. It's not even the talking, it's the whole stupid clicking
it's
thing.
exactly that's exactly what was stopping me. So, and I was telling somebody, I was in Florida actually, telling a friend of mine who does PowerPoint decks for a living, and she's like, "Oh, I'll make the PowerPoint for you." I was like, "What?"
Oh,
She was like, "Yeah, no, I'll just make it for you. It's no problem. And then you just practice it. We'll just practice it on Zoom." And I was like, "You mean I don't have to make, cuz I'm not like a artist. I don't know how to make a slide. I'm like,
right, right.
and literally the obstacle disappeared, and I said yes, and I ended up doing that TED Talk, and now like 80,000 people have seen that TED Talk at this point, and I
Oh,
have used
wow.
it in countless circumstances, and now I do talks with slides all the time. It's not even an issue, but the thing that often people stops people is they don't know how to do something, right? So when you aren't sure how to do something, this is the question I would substitute for it. This is the coaching, is who can do it? If you don't know how, ask who, because you know somebody who could put it together.
I do. I mean, I'm sure I do. But then did that friend come and click for you or you just did?
No, the clicking was easy. And this is what I did, because I don't like to use, outlines or anything either. I just like to talk to people. I
Right.
used the slides as my outline.
Oh,
So I
right.
would just, click, okay, what's your dream? That's the slide. What's your dream? So now I'm going to talk to somebody about what their dream is, which is natural for me because that's what I do with people, right? Then what messes with you? It's just like literally the prompts for what you
Right.
are going to say anyway.
That makes sense. That definitely makes, okay. That's actually a really good idea. And now I'm thinking in my head, I actually might have the right person to do this. So that is pretty much the obstacle for me is a
Amazing
technology.
how when we don't know how to do something, we get stopped rather than asking, well, who does know how? Same thing with social media. A lot of people get stopped with social media. They're like, well, I don't know how to do lives. I don't want to do this. I don't know. But somebody knows. So, all you have to do is ask, and people will show up to support you.
That is true. And it's amazing how many people really, and it's not always your good friends. You think that your friends are going to show up for you. it's like-minded people who are really trying to be proactive in the world, who are very supportive. Like some of my biggest supporters are people I'm not even very close with, but they're just like they're those kind of people, and then it'll be reciprocated,
Yeah.
and it's pretty wild.
It is. It's
Yeah.
wild. And if you run into any problems, which I know you won't, because you're going to put one post on Facebook and you're going to have 10 people wanting to help you with your PowerPoint. But if you do run into, you call me, because the little kid you walk to school is an artist and he does all that stuff. He's
Oh
studying
my
at
gosh,
animation at SVA. So he could do a PowerPoint deck in his sleep.
that is okay. I'm gonna take you up on that.
Okay. So there you go. Game on. So now we want to, there's definitely, that's one thing, right? So that was stopping you from maybe taking all the actions you
Yeah.
need to schedule it and get it booked. But now the next thing is to get it booked, because if you get the deck and you practice a little bit on Zoom, it's really, you're going to see it's nothing. It's really so simple. Once you do it 2 or 3 times, you will not be concerned about clicking slides anymore. Um,
How many people were in your audience?
a few hundred, but I've
Oh, so you did a major one because there's like TED Talks. Sometimes you can be in like upstate New York somewhere and have 40 people in your
yeah,
audience, or you can do like a major one that there's hundreds of people.
totally. You can do, and I've spoken in front of small groups and I've spoken in front of thousands of people, and
You have. I get
but
that.
it's still people. So the other piece, if are you nervous about speaking in front of lots of people? Is that another consideration?
It's funny if I'm on a Zoom and I'm giving a lecture and I know that there's like over 1,000 people listening, it doesn't scare me so much. But when I'm on a stage, yeah, it does something to
Okay, so
me.
I have coaching for that too, because I've been doing that for 35 years. And as a
Yeah,
pop singer, I mean, I sang in front of 100,000 people,
that's
at
right.
once,
Yeah.
in live actual, not on Zoom land, but in actual real people land. So what you need to remember is it's only one person at a time you're talking to. You can't talk to a group. It's not a real thing. You can
Okay.
only talk to, like, I can only talk to you right now, and if there were 15 other people on this screen, I'd be talking to Bob, or I'd be talking to, Susan, or you can only look at one person at a time. So if
Right.
when you're speaking in front of people, you speak to one person at a time, you'll be fine. If you're speaking to the group, it's a concept, and then you get afraid because you're not afraid to talk to a person, you're afraid to talk to a
That
group.
is true. I would say that's true. Yeah. Yeah, it's different when you're talking to a group for
Yeah,
sure.
but a group is not real. There's no such thing as a group. There's just people. So if you're there with clearly your vision in mind, like, my intention is to make a difference for this person, and now this person, and this person, then your attention is all on them versus
Mhm.
how am I doing? Do I sound stupid? You know, do I have
We all think
lipstick
so
on
for
our
a
teeth?
second.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
all your
Yeah.
attention, have it shifted to the person, one person at a time, and the difference that you're out to make with that person. And then you disappear. So all that nervousness just sort of, and you might have heartbeats, and you might have, like, a little bit of shortness of breath. I sometimes get that when I speak in front of people, but it doesn't mean anything, because you're there to make a difference with the people, not there to do good.
Right. That is true. That is true. And most of my friends who are speakers always talk about they still get nervous to this day, even if they speak all the time, or performers or whatever they do. It's like you get those butterflies, even if it's second nature to you, it still happens, and that's
It's
okay.
totally fine. It's just, are you going to hang out there and be stopped by it? Which I'm going to accuse you of being stopped by those fears
You
and
know, I have
considerations.
been. I didn't just come up with this thought like when I told you about it. It's been running in my mind doing a talk for like a year or two,
And it's no
and just
problem to have those kind of fears and stuff. It's just, when you're messable with, those fears are bigger than your commitment. When you're unmessable with, your commitment, your vision is bigger than the fear. The fear doesn't go away. You bring it with you. That's why it takes courage. So if you create being
right. So if we
courageous,
all fall for our fears, where are we gonna?
exactly. So you have everything you need, and you have a message worth telling. So it's like, you not doing it is sort of ripping people off.
Thank you. No, I really feel a need to be able to speak and communicate, and it's like It's a huge goal, and I don't think fear should stop any of us. And I completely agree with you on that. So it's
So by when are you going to get this booked?
yeah, I just that's another thing. I need to find out where all the talks are.
You
I
can
know
do
I
that
have friends
after you
who
make a
have.
promise. Come up with a date and then we'll backwards plan you finding out where the talks are. And that's a Google search. But by what date do you want to have it booked?
Hmm, by the end of this
Good.
year.
So by the end of the year, it is going to be on the books. And now you have a bunch of actions that you need to take. But if you
Thank
didn't say
you.
by the end of the year, it would be a someday dream. And someday's not a real day.
That is very true. That is very true. And that's what stops everyone. We all have good ideas. We don't act on them and someone else does it first. And that's happened so many times with businesses I wanted to do. And I like could have kicked myself. I was like, how did I not, I had this idea and someone else did it first. So it's not that anyone else is going to share the same message, but it's like we just waste our
Well,
time.
we
And it's
live in
like,
an
what.
imaginary illusion called someday. It's just like me moving to Paris. I was like, someday I'll live in Paris. Someday I'll live in Paris. And then finally, like a year and change ago, I was like, oh, there is no someday. I keep telling people that, but I have a someday dream. So that was it. I said, okay, what actions do I need to take? Same thing with you. So we set the date. We were like, May 1st, we're moving. That was it. And we did. So now you've got end of the year, it's booked. So now we got a backwards plan, and that's work, that you can just lay it out. Okay, by what date would I have to have sent in applications? When do I have to practice this talk? Because you should do a little demo on Zoom with whatever slides you end up with so that you have a piece of the talk for people to submit, you know,
That makes sense.
like yeah,
Okay. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it.
the game is on now and keep me posted.
Okay.
And
I'll
especially if you get
accept it.
stopped, then great.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate
No, it's
that because
my
that's gonna be
pleasure.
very helpful.
My job is to have people fulfill their dreams. So if anybody's stopped in fulfilling a dream, that's where Mighty Mouse is on her way.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so
I'm
much.
excited now. You've left me
Good.
with some, yeah, I appreciate it.
Are you kidding? That's my honor. That's great. Thanks for being open and,
It's your
and
gift to this
coachable.
world.
You
Yes.
know, well, I'm thrilled that you were here, and we'll have to do like a follow up at some point to see once you get it booked. We'll get the skinny on what it took. Thank you so
Great.
much for being on the show, Danielle, and I look
Thank
forward to the
you.
update on your TED Talk journey.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. So thank you.
Great. And everybody else, we'll see you on the next episode of the Be Unmessable with podcast.